Taco, Bed Bath and Beyond. What a movement this week.
You can say that, yes.
Quite exciting times. We had it last week about AMC. This week, again, one of the stocks that I think not a lot of people have in their portfolio, but at least if you read financial news, you must have heard something about it this week.
Exactly. We will have a closer look later.
Yeah, what is going on with this company. First of all, a little bit of news of the week now. What you want to kick off with something that you picked up from the FOMC, for instance, or about?
Well, yes. This morning I heard, like in the United Kingdom, the inflation, 10% being the highest of the rich countries in the world, the 7 richest countries.
I saw that as well. Yes.
Yeah. So that's again the inflation highest since 2021.
Well, if we look at, we just came down. No, what was on the TV just before we went to the studio was Turkey. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's also quite a rich country, but they have an inflation I think about 80% or 100% or something. It's insane what's going on there, exactly. And they're not raising the interest rate. So it's quite funny that it's not always necessary to do that. Other interesting news, it's still the end of the quarter season is finished, of course.
Yeah, we had Cisco yesterday, positive figures and also positive outlook. We had Philips, I think we spoke about it. You spoke about it before. Again, negatively in the news, I suppose.
But hopefully they managed to turn it around, no?
That might be something, but still I heard also some analysts saying like it's normal, this is happening because it was a mess. Well, I don't know that, but the share price actually is a mess, no? Still is a mess.
Especially if you look at it the longer term.
Yeah.
Casper and I did an analysis, I think it was on the 24th of June, if I'm not wrong. So please have a look at that video. We'll put a link underneath so you can easily click if you want to know more about what's going on with Philips. Also, as we're from the Netherlands, we saw Adyen, a large Dutch payment provider. They came with figures, Taco, and I'm gonna sum them up for you. Revenues beating, everything was a lot better what was expected. Profit 282 million versus 204 million last year, 40% more. Earnings 356 versus 272 last year, also better. Revenues 395 billion versus 2.55 billion last year. Payments, so what they're actually producing is payments, plus 60% last year. What do you think would happen to the stock price? Must go up, right?
That cannot be. I know the answer, but I know what you mean. That's
stock price was down this morning 11%. And also what is also normally the case is when analysts give these expectations and then they also say what is the company giving for sort of outlook for the coming years, and what they actually said is the company itself came out with very clear targets. And that is not like you're putting your head in the sand, right? They're really saying we're willing and we're trying to achieve for the next few years an EBITDA raise of 65%, and we want to increase our earnings on a yearly basis with almost 20 to 30%. So also here, much better. But the thing is, it is a growth stock. It's one of those companies that is based on future growth. So the valuation is pretty high. We know what is happening with, and yesterday the FOMC came out with their, the Federal Open Market Committee with their plans for the future interest rates. They're going to raise the interest in the US again with 0.75%, meaning that is not so good for growth stocks because there's a lot of value in that price already, and they still have to get to that value. If you compare it to other companies that came out this week, like Target, it's like wholesale in the US, the more like consumer staple companies, they're much less subject to interest rate rises. So that was one thing why the price of Adyen maybe was not so positively achieved. And another thing is their operating expenses were almost 50% higher. And operating expenses, that was mainly due to the fact that they hired almost 400 additional people. So they had to hire quite a lot of more work staff to work out all the payments in this case. So all in all, I think it was punished quite hard.
Still, I mean, there can be reasons, but if you say, okay, it's positive news, but it only went up 1% or but 12 or 11% down, that's quite
that's quite massive.
Actually, it also had this impact on the Dutch stock market because it's not a small, I think the weight is like 6% or something. So actually the Dutch index really felt that.
Yeah, you saw it clearly in the index indeed.
Yeah, but difficult to have your opinion, no? If you see everything is better than expected, or at least, and then 12% lower, difficult.
Bed, Bath and Beyond.
Yes.
No, it's Bed, Bath and
Beyond. Yes, exactly.
And you know what this Beyond comes from?
No.
Now, it is basically bed and bath. That's quite clear. So sanitary ware and all those sorts of things. But the beyond is that when you can become a member. It's like a Prime membership, and you pay $29 a year, and that makes that you have a 20% discount on all your purchases.
Okay.
So Bed Bath and Beyond. So it's like an additional, sort of revenue stream. Of course, if you only go once a year to the shop, and you only buy a couple of towels, then of course they make money on that 20% yearly discount. If you go every week, then obviously that model is not so good.
I think I saw something like the original name was Bed and Bath, so they added something, but that's it. Yeah, well, the price movements this week, or actually this year, 1 month ago, the stock price was $5. This week, Monday, around $17, and Wednesday reaching almost $30. So those are quite some movements, no? And actually, we are quite up to date. So we are now on Thursday afternoon. Yeah. I saw that the price is back around $19 opening. So big price movements. And you said it before, we had some other companies already analyzed, or actually its movements analyzed, AMC and also GameStop. This is also one of those shares that are, a lot of interest of private investors, retail investors, that also a relatively low free float of shares and large short positions, around 50%. Definitely. So actually all the ingredients are there for those kind of price movements. But still, if it's happening, that's quite has some impact. Yeah, so there's Jim Cramer, the famous guy that's on CNBC, he was on New York, and he said, like, it is a clear signal of the massive speculation mode in which the retail investor is at the moment. So they're really in a mode of speculating on these massive price movements. It has nothing to do with buying Walmart or Target or Bank of America or like more solid stocks. It's all about it's almost like gambling, I would say. Maybe, it's like it's also tradable on the stock market, so we have to have an opinion. But I agree that it's not the same, like fundamentally speaking, for example. Yeah, but on the other hand, Taco, I mean, we had quite some critics on our comments or critics on our video of last week. Feedback. It's always good to have feedback. And then somebody said, it's not a fundamental play. Well, obviously, we talked about AMC last week. It's not a fundamental play, but every stock, in my opinion, can be analyzed fundamentally. Yeah. And the same thing counts for Bed and Beyond. Bed Bath and Beyond, sorry. Mm-hmm. because they make revenue, they have earnings, they have stuff to analyze fundamentally. Yeah. So you could say, it's not a fundamental play. Yes, okay, but you can still analyze it. I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, you can say, okay, I don't focus on the fundamental part, but it's available. You have to have your opinion. Maybe you just see the confirmation that it's a no-go, but you have to see the figures. Later, I will have a look a little bit about the fundamentals. Also, what makes it more likely to have this kind of price movements is the big option positions. Yes. I think we spoke about it also in other editions, that based on that you can see where some big investors might have their opinion. I think the call options, $60 or $80 were bought, with a price of 5 or 20. There is something happening there. But like I said, it was the subject of today could also be that it's now trading at 40 or 50, but it's back again to actually beginning of this week. Mm-hmm. So if you have the share, you might have seen that there's no movement, but in between there was quite some action. I thought also about some other risks, because if everyone can decide if he wants to buy or actually wants to sell, a short position. But you have to also realize that there can be moments of no trading. So the trading is it was halted, or actually positions can be closed. So I mean that's an extra fact, about. I mean it can happen actually with ING or with Shell, but. I mean, in this case, with short positions, there are some extra rules you have to take in consideration. So I think that's a good advice from us. So be careful, even if you think something is going to happen. Is it tradable? What is the spread? Of course, maybe some strange things are happening and the market makers are not. So that's an extra dimension, I think, if you invest. Definitely. Fundamentally, it's not that fundamental. But, I mean, the company was created in 1971. There are over 50 years. That's quite a long time. It's not like what you said also last week. It's not just some startup or something, of course. No. They are active in all the 50 US states. So, it is a big company. But fundamentally speaking, I think we saw last week also with a negative earnings per share the last years. That's not really something to be
not
positive about.
Not something for only the last year, right? They had a negative earnings per share for as long as we could look back, and that is something that you have to. So basically, they need extra money each year.
Yeah,
and that is what I also found interesting now, because the CEO, she was completely paralyzed because what she could have done to generate, because the company has nearly to no cash. She did not make the decision to start selling some stocks. For instance, I don't know how many stocks are in free float, but you could consider at those prices sell some stocks as a company for those $30 prices, but they didn't do anything.
No, I did see something about their debt, that they're trying to issue like a bond or something, but I mean the debt position, maybe we can add it on the list of the companies where, you know, the debt position is also something. If you see a debt position, big short positions, option trades, well, I think well, it was maybe to expect this kind of things. Actually, people were speaking about this short squeeze we spoke about last week, even before this movement. I mean, there were some signals, but like we said, it's now back at the level of beginning this week, which is still 17 against $5 a month ago. So very spectacular movements, but our conclusion is basically the same.
The same, and I think also for the viewers, for the next weeks, we will not talk again about a meme stock, no?
No, I don't think so. It is popular. I mean, it's not something that it was really something this week again, also definitely in practice. But I think we had the most of them, no? The main three, AMC, GameStop, and now this one. So no, we won't speak about it, but it was very interesting. I think
there's a lot of the interesting topics. I heard this morning also, to go from one thing to the other, but what we forgot to mention was on Monday, the Chinese, that they, instead of raising the interest rates, they reduced it. So to round it off, I think it's important for you to really be on the outlook what's coming next. Because I always have this feeling, and I don't know if you agree with me, that it's a little bit too easy, this recovery since the middle of July. It's like this. It feels at the moment that there's no real danger. I don't see where it might come from, and I always sort of like have this then additional risk finger like out. There's something might be just happening anytime soon.
I totally agree. Actually, a lot of people I speak with say, okay, there's the recession coming, the inflation. Yeah. But the stock market sometimes acts differently, you know, than the real economic, and maybe that's the case now. But on the other hand, if you are invested now, fully invested, I mean, it's not a bad market. Low volatility. I repeat myself, but it is also a fact. So actually, it's not a bad market for shares. But be careful,
Definitely, especially if you made the decision to step into some stocks in mid of June, something like that. You know, you had 4 or 5 weeks of positive markets. It might be just time to, everything you don't sell and it goes down is an opportunity loss. So always bear that in mind. You can always buy it back, but selling you can only do once basically. And you can also sell it and when buy it again, sell it again, of course. But selling for the price at this moment with the profit that it might have, you can only do once. So my tip for this week. Thank you for watching.
Thank you very much.
Give us a thumb and then we see you next week again.
See you. Bye-bye.